Welcome to the Joy of Connecting, where modern professionals share stories of meaningful connection and how it can increase business success, unlock career growth, and create personal happiness. If you like what you hear today, get even more by following the Joy of Connecting on LinkedIn and subscribing to our newsletter that features tips from experts on how to network and connect with more meaning. Welcome back to the Joy of Connecting. I'm your host, Melissa, and I am here today with the lovely Marion Siboni. She is the founder and CEO of the Creme de la STEM, which is the only global private network for early stage female founders in tech and science. And what I love, and I'm so excited to chat with her about, is connections are the thing that open doors for those early stage founders. It can change their entire future. And that's part of how we first started speaking. So welcome to the show. Will you tell us a little bit more about what you do for a living, but more importantly, who are you passionate about helping?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Melissa. I'm really, really glad that we can have this conversation today. So, as you mentioned, and I'm the founder and CEO of La Creme de la STEM, which is a private community for early stage female founders building in tech and science. And more specifically, we understand the power of the network. I'm currently in the process of selecting founding members who understand the power of being connected, being able to rely on each other. And what I'm doing is I'm providing them with live sessions every week from other investors. I work with 140 VCs to date. I also have VIP guests who are expert on a specific topic, whether it's go-to-market strategy, social media, or I also work with executive entrepreneurs that are going to share their milestones through actionable advice. And finally, I bring corporate partners to the mix to bring perks and discounts from like HR software, CPA, lawyers, like everything you need when building a company that you don't want to talk about or you don't want to think about it. But I'm providing the perks on that side.
I think even just the way you described it actually is, in my mind, I'm seeing, so often we think of connections as one to one to one. I meet with this person, it takes me to there. But that network and that complexity of almost the marketplace of connections for specifically early stage founders is so complex. And you in maybe tell us a little bit about your background, because you understand that it's not just I need funding, I meet with an investor. It's also meeting with folks who've done it before and folks who could be good advisors and the companies that provide the discounts that you need to springboard. Tell us a little bit about your background with Connection and why you decided to really build something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to work for, corporate America. I worked in companies of different sizes. I worked for Cisco. I worked for AI startup. I worked for MongoDB. And most recently, I worked for Techstars, which is the world's largest pre-seed investor. And I had sales and partnership roles during my career. So basically, I've been in the business of building connections for like the past 12 years. And that's what made me so successful to date. I also built a community when I moved from Paris to New York that scaled from 0 to 6,000 members in a year and a half. So I've seen firsthand the impact of building a network before you need it and being able to connect with people just based on, who they are rather than what they can bring you. And the fact that I had this approach always very genuine, like that's really something that is very, very important for me. I'm very authentic and very honest in the relationship I have. And that's something that people appreciate with me. That really helped me to build a really strong network when I'm just one text away from anything I need. And it doesn't mean that I need something that immediately have someone I can ask about that specific thing. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I have someone that I know can put me in touch on a specific topic. So I think this is what is really important to understand about connection. Whether you look for fundings or to find a job, you're not going to have someone that is going to provide you funding or is going to provide you that job you've been looking for. But they can provide you with a connection that can help you understand how to go through the path. And for me, that's really what connections are about. Is like, how do you find your path through the different connections? And it's never like straight. towards the answer. I don't think that that exists, but it's like, how can you collect feedback? How can you collect data? How can you collect knowledge to reach your goal and leverage your connection around that goal?
Exactly why we're here, this kind of idea that these connections and the secondary connections and the tertiary connections can really create something incredible. You are here on the show to share a story of sorts. I'm sure you've seen a million stories of connection. You have a particular one that you'd like to share with us today about some way that connection kind of created business impact or maybe unlocked one of these founders you work with.
Yeah, so I actually have like a personal example I had in mind because when I moved to the US, coming from France, which is like, very different country, different culture, different mindset, I didn't know what to expect from, building a network or just building a life here in America. And I got connected to the US director of this global nonprofit that I was working for back in Paris. I was a volunteer there. So I reached out to her and then we had like a really good conversation. I supported the nonprofit when I was in France, and when I moved here, we met in person. And she gave me the opportunity to build the New York City chapter from scratch, just like based on. I mean, to me, absolutely nothing, but obviously to her, trust and trust in my background and trust in my skill, and just to have to change my mindset and understand what I was expected and understand that I could do it, and I had basically like the key to the castle to like build it on my own and do whatever I wanted to. That broke a lot of mental barriers I had, and that really helped me to just actually do it, right? So that had like a huge impact, and I feel like sometimes as women we need to be told that we can do it, and that's literally all it takes to just unlock that mental barrier and open to like new beginnings.
You know, that in itself is a fantastic piece of advice, which is just get yourself through the barrier. Get in. Sometimes it takes somebody else pushing us through, but break through and just do it. We just stole that from Nike, right? Just do it. That's the new joy of connecting catchphrase. But that's a good piece of advice in itself. Is there another piece of advice? I'm sure you have lots and people can follow you after this for more, but is there another piece of advice that you sometimes give to folks who are maybe not as immediately comfortable as building these relationships or creating their network?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually worked and got interviewed in a lot of articles around highly efficient networking. So I have like a method in 5 different steps. I don't know if you want me to go through those steps, but like I would say the most important one is connect on personal matters because people are more likely to remember you for something personal, like an emotion that you created when talking to them rather than for your job or your company or your business objectives that you're going after right now. People connect on emotions, right? So people buy from people. That's something that I always say, and I really believe in that. And I've seen it through my career. That's how it works. So you have to be willing to be open and connect on personal matters. I think that's the one piece of advice I would give.
Perfectly said, and I like doing the teaser. You have to go check the show notes to find the rest of we'll link to those articles where you've kind of broken down those 5 steps because 'cause I'm very excited to read about those as well. One of the things I love to make sure to do is we also give a shout out to someone you know who you've seen builds connections really well. Who is someone that's inspired you to connect?
Yeah, one super connector that comes to mind, his name is David Nebinski. Has been very passionate about community building for like years. He has a podcast. I was interviewing his podcast. He also has a newsletter where he talks about portfolio career. And he loves doing experiments around community building. He's always hosting something, whether it's like a small dinner or round table or it's always like experimenting new ways to connect with people. And I just love that. I really like the way he connects with people because it's all about what I just described as well, which is personal matters and also making sure that it brings value to the conversation rather than trying to look for a specific outcome, which I think a lot of networking can be like that. So yeah.
Now, I'm curious, have one kind of extra question that I'm just super into because as you mentioned, he is using those principles of connection and networking well within a community. And that's what you're going to be doing with La Creme de la Stem as well.
Yes.
Curious, what have you seen that really works well when it comes to a community creating connections? What is one thing that either you're definitely going to do or you really love when you see it happening in another community? Like
Yeah.
tactically, the solution.
Yeah, I think that when you lead a community, you have to be involved. I don't think that a community can live on its own. I think there people are attracting to a community for what it represents, and you represent what the community is going to look like, right? So the way I connect within my community that is online, I do a lot of interviews with all the female founders that are joining, and I tell them it's a minimum of 30 minutes of one-on-one call. I have like some follow-ups with some of them because I feel like that I need to, learn more about who they are, but they also need to learn more about who I am and why they should join, right? So that's something that I spend a lot of time doing. It's time consuming in a way, like one of my friends was challenging me on that, but I think that finding those first 50 founding members that have like the same values and assess them and take the time to really build that trust, build that connection, that initial connection with me is then what I can then replicate the trust they have in me. I can then put them in touch with each other. And that's what I'm doing as well. Like I'm always through the community where when they introduce themselves or they ask a question, I know exactly who can answer that. So um, being the centerpiece is important, and picking those first members is really important because then they're going to replicate what they see. So you have to lead by example. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then at some point, I hope I can like slowly take myself off and not be as involved as I am right now, but I will never be able to be fully detached from the community because I don't think that it works that way. Like it takes a lot of skills. It's like it's a very unique skill to be able to lead a community and be a super connector, and I have that skill. So that's what I want to bring to all the members.
Your personal touch is priceless. And I once heard somebody say, if you can't see yourself still involved with the community that you're building in 10 years, you're not the right person to do it. Right. And that'll change and you won't be as hands on and it will definitely evolve. But that passion and the willingness to be there is so important. Well, tell our listeners before I let you go, where else can they find out more about you and what you're building?
Yeah, definitely. So they can follow me on LinkedIn. I post like 3 times a week. I also write a newsletter on Substack called lacremdelastem.substack.com. And then finally, a lot of information on the website, whether it's how to apply. There are like apply buttons everywhere to join the community. And I also share on the website the fact that it's a public benefit corporation, the guiding principles, the press articles that I've been in, the podcast that I've been in as well. So yeah, there's like a lot on the website to just take a look and understand better who I am, why I'm doing it, and what the value it is.
Well, you are a connector extraordinaire. I'm so glad to have had you here today. And I'm sure you're going to be getting some pings from not only the early tech founders in tech and science, but from other folks who just want to learn from how you really build a network that really creates the impact you want to see. And I think you're doing an amazing job. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review to help us reach more listeners. Have a story of your own to share or know someone who should be on the show? Visit www.joyofconnect.ing and let us know. Now go send a short message to someone you've been meaning to connect with. You never know where it might lead.